Hello math learners! In this video, we are going to learn about the other ways of presenting and organizing data, and that is through tabular method. So let's begin. A more effective tool in presenting data is the use of statistical tables. A table is a systematic arrangement of data, usually arranged in rows or columns for easy reference of information. By organizing data in tables, important features about the data can be readily understood and comparisons can be easily made. There are essential components of a statistical table, and these are the table heading, the column header, row classifier, body, footnote, and source note. When we say table heading, it consists of the table number and the title of the table. The table number is used for easy reference to the table. The table title is used to briefly describe the content of the table. Column header. It is used to describe the data in each column. Row classifier. It is used to show the classes or categories. Body. Body is the main part of the table. It contains the quantitative information. Footnote. It clarifies and clear points in the table. And last is the source note. It acknowledges the original source of the data. Now, we already know that tabular method is one of the methods of organizing and presenting data. But when can we use this method? Valuable and significant information can be obtained from a large set of data, but it would help if the data is grouped into classes and organized in a table. Such table is called a frequency distribution, and the data is called grouped data. That means we will use statistical tables if the information that we have obtained is a large set of data. Now, the most famous or the most commonly used table in statistics is called the frequency distribution table. It is a table that displays frequencies for the different categories, values of a counting variable, or class intervals. Now, let's construct frequency distribution tables. These are the steps. Step 1. Determine the range. Range is the difference between the highest and lowest values. So, to get the range, we will just subtract the largest quantity minus the smallest quantity. Step 2. Determine the approximate number of classes using the Sturges formula. And this is the Sturges formula. We have k equals 1 plus 3.322 logarithm n, where k is the number of classes and it should always be rounded off to the nearest whole number. And n means the total number of data or values. Step 3. Determine the class interval. So we have the formula I equals the range divided by k, where I is the class interval and it should always be rounded up. And the last step is to construct the table. So let's apply these steps in our example. Example number 1. Consider the data below, which are the results of the 60-item test of a class. Construct a frequency distribution table. So we have here the given set of data. And now let's proceed. Step 1. Determine the range. We all know that the formula for range is largest quantity minus smallest quantity. So let's find first our largest quantity. In this given set of values, the largest number or the biggest number is 57, while our smallest quantity or our smallest number is 8. So let's subtract these two numbers, and that is equal to 57 minus 8, which is 49. So that means the value of our range is 49. Step 2. Determine the approximate number of classes using the Sturges formula. The Sturges formula again is k equals 1 plus 3.322 logarithm n. So we need to solve for k, so we will copy first 1 plus 3.322 and find the value of n. The value of n is just the total number of data. So we will count all these values. How many are they? They are 30. So we will just substitute 30 to n. So this will become 1 plus 3.322 logarithm 30. So if we are going to solve for k, we will use a calculator. So get your calculator and encode 1 plus 3.322 logarithm open parenthesis 30 close parenthesis. Once done, press enter, and the result is 5.76. But according to the steps, the value of k should be rounded off to the nearest whole number. So since this is 7, 5 will become 6. Next, step 3. Step 3 is to determine the class interval. So the value of I is equal to the range over k. Our range is 49 and the value of our k is 6. 49 divided by 6 is 8.17. And again, the value of I should always be rounded up. So no matter what is the next digit, 8 should always be rounded up. So it will become 9. Okay, so we are done with our first 3 steps. Step 1, Step 2, and Step 3. We should always remember these values. Our range is 49, our k or the number of classes is 6, and our I is 9. Now, let's proceed to Step 4. Okay, Step 4 is to construct the table. So, to construct a table, we should determine the number of rows and the number of columns that we should draw. Now, in a frequency distribution table, we have here 3 columns. The first column will be the class interval, second column will be the tally, and the third column would be the frequency. Now, for the number of rows, since the number of our classes or the value of our k is 6, that means we should also have 6 rows. 6 number of classes means 6 rows. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is already correct. Now let's solve for our lower limits. When we say lower limits, these are the numbers that are found on the left side of the class interval. Our first lower limit will be our smallest quantity, and that is 8. So we will write 8. Next, to get our next lower limit, we will add the class interval, which is the value of I, and that is 9. So let's add 8 plus 9 is 17. Let's add again. 17 plus 9 is 26. 26 plus 9 is 35. 35 plus 9 is 44. And 44 plus 9 is 53. So we have now our lower limits: 8, 17, 26, 35, 44, and 53. Now, next we need to solve for our upper limits. which are the numbers on the right side of the class interval. Now, since we already have 17 here, that means our first class interval will be from 8 to 16. Okay, so now we now have our first upper limit. Next, to get our next upper limit, we will again add 9, which is our class interval. So 16 plus 9, 25, plus 9, 34, plus 9, 43, plus 9, 52, and plus 9, 61. And we are done with our first column, which are the values of our class intervals. Now let's proceed to the second column, which are the tally. So first, let's find, or let's have our first class interval, which is from 8 to 16. So that means we will tally all the data, all the numbers that belong to this interval, 8 to 16. So let's find 8 to 16. We have 1. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, we only have 2. Now, how about in our next class? We have 17 to 25. So let's look for the numbers that belong to this interval. 17 to 25. 1. So we have 1. 17 to 25. 2. Next. 3. Next. 4. Next. Okay, we only have 4. Next class is 26 to 34. So let's find all the numbers that belong to this class. 26 to 34. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we have 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Next, 35 to 43. So let's find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Next, we have 44 to 52. So let's find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the last class, we have 53 to 61. We only have one number, and that is 57. So 1. Now, we are done with our second column. For the last column, we have the frequency. Okay, so to find the frequency, we will just count the number of tallies. So there is 1, so this is 1, 5, 11, 7, 4, and 2. Now, to check if our frequency, our number of frequency is correct, we will add. So let's add 1 plus 5 plus 11 plus 7 plus 4 plus 2. The answer is 30. And we all know that this data, the number of data, is equal to 30. So that means we are correct. So that's it, math learners. This is how you construct a frequency distribution table. Thank you so much for listening. Always remember, the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics.